Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In our previous videos, we have discussed the method to sketch the root locus plot for the given open loop transfer function. In this video, we will discuss examples related to the root locus sketch. So an open loop transfer function is given to us, that is g of s into h of s is equal to k over s into s plus 4 into s plus 8. So there are three poles. One pole is at origin, one pole is at minus 4 and the third pole is at minus 8. So first step in the root locus sketching is to determine the number of poles, zeros and asymptotes. So here you can see n is the number of poles, 3 poles. There is no zero in this transfer function, and the number of poles moving towards the infinity, that will be equal to 3 because there is no zero. So all of these poles will be moving towards the zeros which are sitting at the infinity. In order to calculate the asymptotic angles, we use this expression, that is n minus m minus 1, where n is the number of poles, this is the number of zeros. So that is equal to 2. So it means the q will be equal to 0, 1 and 2. And our pole positions are like this. One pole is at origin, this pole is at minus 4 and this pole is at minus 8. So here is the second step, that is the pole 0 map. In this you can see one zero is over here, one pole is at 0, one pole is at minus 4 and the other pole is at minus 8. Okay, now we determined that which part of the real axis is the part of the root locus. So what was the rule? Now if we select one point over the real axis and if we look at towards the right, if there is odd number of poles and zeros, then that part is the part of the root locus. So if we select a test point over here, you can see only one pole, so it is an odd number. It means this portion of the real axis is the part of the root locus. If I take the test point over here and if I look towards the right, one pole is this one, the other pole is this one. So there are two poles, so that's an even number. So this part is not the part of the root locus. So NRL means not the root locus. Now if I take a test point over here and if I look at the number of poles on this side, this is the 1, 2 and there are 3, that is an odd number of poles. So this part of the real axis will be the part of the root locus. So that is highlighted. So this is the root locus, this portion is the root locus, but this portion from here to here is not the root locus, right? Okay, then we calculate the angle of asymptotes in this centroid. Asymptotes are basically the lines along which your closed loop poles moves towards the infinity or reaches the infinity. So we know that the expression for the calculation for the asymptotic angle is this one, 2q plus 1 divided by n minus m into 180. So the q we have already seen, that will be equal to 0, 1 and 2. So 3 asymptotes. So if we take q is equal to 0, right, so the angle comes out to be 60 degree. If we take q is equal to 1, that will be 180 degree, and if we take q is equal to 2, the angle will be 300. And the centroid is basically equal to the angle of the zeros. The centroid is calculated by taking the sum of the real parts of the poles and then taking their subtracting from that the real part of the zeros. So there are only the poles over here. One pole is at 0, the other one is at minus 4, the next one is at minus 8, and dividing it by n minus m, so that is equal to 3. So you will get the centroid. So centroid is basically the point at which your asymptotes will meet over the real axis. So now in this diagram you can see that I have sketched the asymptotes over the pole 0 map. So this is your first asymptote, A1 is representing the asymptote. So this is meeting the real axis at s equal to minus 4. This is the centroid point. Okay, so the second asymptote is this one, that is at the angle of 180 degree from here, that you can see. And the third asymptote is at the angle of 300 that we calculated over here. So this is the angle of 300 from here, and if we look in this direction, this will be of 60 degree. So the root locus is always symmetric about the real axis. So if you have one asymptote over here, so it will there will be a mirror image of that one. So you will be having an asymptote in the lower s plane as well. Okay, so after calculating the asymptotes and centroid, now we look at the breakaway points or break-in points. Breakaway points are those ones from where your closed loop poles leave the real axis. Okay, so for that we need to write down the characteristic equation, that is 1 plus g of s into h of s. So we know that g of s into h of s, so this equation is set up, and simplifying this one we will get this equation. So this can be simplified and can be written like this, right? So this is our characteristic equation. So from this characteristic equation we are going to find out the expression for k, which is the gain, which will be varied, and when this gain k is varied, the position of the closed loop poles in the s plane will change, right? So taking the expression for the k and then finding out the derivative of this expression with respect to s. So if we take the derivative, so that will be given by this expression. So setting this derivative equal to 0, we will get this equation. And now if we find out the roots for this one, so using the quadratic formula we can find out the roots. So s will be equal to minus 1.69 and minus 6.31. okay. Now we have these 2 points. The break away points are expected at these positions, but we need to confirm that either break away or not. So what we do, we use this expression of the k, right, and we use these points, and we calculate this value of the k by placing the s equal to this one. So if this k comes out to be positive, it means that is a confirmed breakaway or the break-in point. So now we are going to confirm that either it's a breakaway or not. So taking s is equal to minus 1.69 and using this over here in this expression, right, so if we simplify we are going to get 24.63. so it is a confirmed breakaway point because the k is positive over here. Now if we take the second value of the s, that is minus 6.31, and if we use it in the same expression of the k, replacing this s with minus 6.31, so if we simplify we will be getting minus 24.63. so it is not the breakaway point as k is the negative one. So breakaway will occur at s is equal to minus 1.69. okay, after that we are going to calculate the j omega crossovers. Those are the points where your root locus will intersect the j omega axis. So again, using the characteristic equation, this is what we determined in the last step, and from here we can determine the Routh table. This entry is 1, this is 32, so 1 and 32, and this is 12 and k, so the second row of the Routh table. Now simplifying it like that, 12 into 32 minus k divided by 12, so you will get this entry. The entries over here are 0, so this will be 0, and then this entry will be obtained, this multiplied with this minus this divided by this one, so you will get k. Okay, so from this Routh table, the critical row is this one, because if we set this one equal to 0, this whole row will become 0. So taking it equal to 0, so we can find out the marginal value of the k at which our root locus will be crossing the imaginary axis, because if the whole row becomes 0, so that gives us the j omega crossover from the Routh table. So marginal value of the k is this one. If the k is equal to 384, it means our root locus at that point will be crossing the j omega axis. okay, so how to find out the j omega crossovers? So this equation will give us the auxiliary polynomial, because the row just above the 0 row is this one. So 12s square plus k will be the auxiliary polynomial. K is equal to 384. So using that value, so setting it equal to 0, you can find out the roots values of the s, which will giving you the position of the poles, closed loop poles over the j omega crossover for this particular value of the k. If the k is equal to 384, you will be having the crossovers. Okay. Now the next step is to find out the angle of departure and the arrivals, and that is only there if you have the complex pole in the 0. So there is no complex pole and there is no complex 0 in this expression, so there is no need to calculate the angle of departures. And the last step is now to sketch the root locus. We have already seen the asymptotes in the previous diagram. So now how the root locus will be there. So centroid is at minus 4. The break away we calculated, that is at minus 1.69. So this portion of the real axis is the part of the root locus. This portion of the real axis is also the part of the root locus. So this pole will be moving toward the 0, which is sitting somewhere at infinity. Right? The pole always moves toward the 0. And this pole will move toward the 0, which are sitting at the infinity. But what will be the path when you will be changing the gain k? So this pole will be moving over this axis, and from here there will be the break away. Similarly, this pole will break away from this point, and finally it will be moving across moving along this SM2 towards the infinity. Similarly, this pole coming from here and then taking this path and moving towards the infinity, because its zero is somewhere sitting at the infinity. Okay, so here is the sketch of the root locus, that this pole that is over here will be coming, and over here we have the breakaway. We calculated it at s is equal to minus 1.69. so this is the point at minus 1.69. there will be the breakaway. So this pole either will move over here or it will move over here, right? And finally it will move towards the infinity along the asymptotes, and this will cross the j omega axis at 5.65j. We have calculated the breakaway points, sorry, j omega crossovers. This is the j omega crossover plus minus 5.65j. so here you can see this pole when will move towards infinity, it will cross j omega axis at this point 5.65j, and this pole when it will break away from here from the real axis will move along this asymptote towards the zero that is sitting at the infinity, and it will cross the j omega axis at minus 5.65j. and what will be the value of the k at this point when it will be crossing the j omega crossover? That is the marginal value of the k. So we have calculated that one, so that was equal to 384. Here you can see this is the marginal value of the k, right? So when the gain k will be equal to 384, so then your root locus will be crossing the j omega axis, right? So k will be equal to 384. So when starting from 0, when you will increase the k, right, so your poles will be moving like this will be moving in this direction, this will be moving in this direction, and this will be moving towards infinity. When at certain value of the k, they will come out of the real axis and they will start moving like this, and at the value equal to 384 they will be right at this point, and after that the poles will enter into the right half plane, and your system, closed loop system, will become unstable. So you have the range of the k, that you can vary the k from 0 to 384, right at 384 your poles will be at the j omega axis. So the minimum value of the k is 0, because here you can say if this k becomes 0, so this whole row will become 0. So the k must be greater than 0 to keep it positive, because according to route table all these signs must be same. So if the k is between 0 and 384, so these terms will be the positive terms. So the range of the k is it should be above 0 and it should be less than 384, then your system will be stable. So if the k is equal to 384, then your poles will be at the j omega axis, and if the k is greater than 384, your closed loop poles will enter into the right half plane, so system will become unstable. So for the stable operation of the closed loop system, your gain k has the range starting from 0 up to 384. Okay, so here you can see that if I say that what is the point at which this damping of the system will be equal to 0.5. So how we can determine looking at the root locus? So for, we have discussed the root locus for the second order system, that on the j omega axis we have the value that is equal to omega d damping frequency, that is given as omega n into 1 minus zeta square, and over the real axis we have zeta omega n, and let's suppose this is the point S, and this distance is omega n for that point. So if you look at this portion of the triangle, so I can write for this triangle that cos of alpha, where this alpha is this angle, that will be equal to zeta omega n, that is this portion. Now because what is the real part for this s? This s will be equal to zeta omega n plus minus zeta omega n plus minus omega d, right? So minus zeta omega n, right, and this is the omega d. So cos of alpha will be equal to zeta omega n divided by omega n. So if you want to calculate this angle alpha in this direction, if you are coming for this angle from here, so you will have to consider the negative sign as well, or you will have to take the difference from 180 degree. So alpha will be equal to cos inverse of omega n will be cancelled in cos inverse of zeta, right? So this angle alpha for this line which is intersecting your root locus at this point. So for the particular damping ratio, let's suppose damping ratio, required damping ratio is 0.5. So if I calculate that angle, this is equal to 60 degrees. So if my closed loop poles are at this position, then it is the part of the root locus, because our poles are moving like this, right? So if the pole is over here, when the poles will be at this position, when they are making the angle of 60 degree with this line, right? So it means the zeta will be equal to 0.5, right? So if we want to adjust the poles of the closed loop system such that the zeta is equal to 0.5, so we can calculate the angle. First of all, draw a line and it will be intersecting at this point. If our pole is at that position, we will get the damping factor equal to 0.5 in the response of this closed loop system. Okay, so we also know that if the pole is over here, this distance is omega n. So omega n is basically is this circle. At this omega n is same. If we change the omega n, so that will be changed over here, right, as well. So we have some value of the omega n. This is the angle 60. If that is maintained, our zeta will be equal to 0.5. So if we find out what should be this pole, so if the pole is equal to minus 1.31 plus 2.34 j, so that will be at this point, and at that point this angle will be 60 degree, and zeta will be equal to 0.5. okay, and for the root locus, the sufficient condition is of the angle. If we calculate this angle, you can find out this point which will be over the root locus. Now what will be the gain k for which your closed loop poles will be at this position? So you can determine it with the help of the magnitude condition. What was the magnitude condition for the root locus? If you remember, that the magnitude of g of s into h of s should be equal to 1, right? Because we have the characteristic equation, that is 1 plus g of s into h of s, that should be equal to 0. So g of s into h of s will be equal to minus 1, and if we look at the magnitude, so magnitude will be equal to 1, right? So taking the magnitude equal to 1, and now taking g of s into h of s, so this will be written like this, and this should be equal to 1, and we are evaluating it for this pole, right? So this is the pole minus 1.31 plus 2.34 j. So evaluating it at this value of the s, so we can write this expression like this, right? And do not consider this part. Okay, so this will be equal to 1, and if we simplify this one, so we will get this expression. So k will be equal to 16.62. So if our gain is set to 16.62, our closed loop pole will be at this point. So because when we change the gain from 0, so when the gain is 0, the position will be the open loop poles. Open loop poles are over here, but when we change the gain k, so the pole starts moving, and they move like this. So when the gain will be equal to 16.62, our pole will be at this position over the root locus, and at that time we know that we have set the angle 60 degree by using this zeta equal to 0.5. So our damping ratio will be equal to 0.5. So you can select the position of the closed loop poles, and for that one you can adjust the gain k to get the desired response. So in this example we have set the damping factor equal to 0.5, right? So you will have to locate the position of the poles over the root locus, and then for that you will have to calculate the gain k. What should be the gain k that should be adjusted to keep that position of the poles, right? And that is only possible if that point is at the root locus, because it is giving the root locus gives you the idea that your poles are moving like that. For a particular gain, this will be over here. So if you have such a pole position which is over the root locus, that can be adjusted by the gain k. But if you say that I want the position of the pole over here, that you cannot do, because this is not the part of root locus. The root locus is over here. So by changing the gain k, you can bring the closed loop poles at the desired position over the root locus. But if you want some other position which is not the part of the root locus, then you will have to add the compensator. So what is the compensator? Compensator is basically the addition of the pole and 0. A new pole and new 0 will be introduced in your system such that the root locus passes through your desired point. Let's suppose I want the pole over here. So I will change this transfer function by adding a 0 and the pole in such a way that that my root locus passes through that position where I want the pole. So that will be done with the help of the compensator. But if I do not want the compensator, I can adjust the position of the poles just by changing the gain k over the existing root locus. So if that pole is over the existing root locus, by changing the gain k, I can tune the response of our system. I can select that. Let's suppose for the damping factor of 0.5, my pole should be over here, and we have calculated the gain, and the gain is equal to 16.62. If we set that gain, our closed loop pole will be at this position, and we will be getting the damping factor equal to 0.5. So you can adjust the poles over the root locus. Okay, here is the MATLAB base plot of this example. Here you can see the instructions written in the MATLAB. Numerator is equal to 1, and as we have seen that our poles are at position 0, s is equal to -4, s is equal to -8. These are the three poles. So I have developed a polynomial giving it the position of the roots 0, -4 and -8, right? And then I have defined the transfer function using this expression, numerator and the denominator. Numerator is equal to 1 and the denominator is this one. So it will be like that, s plus 4, s plus 8. So this transfer function is defined. Let's suppose that is equal to y of s, right? So y of s is this one. And then using the MATLAB command root locus sketch of this transfer function, and then these are the commands setting the limits, limit over the x-axis and the limit over the y-axis, so that we can properly observe. So we have sketched it, and here you can see the MATLAB plot. These are the three poles. This pole is moving over here, and then it is going to move towards the infinity like that, and this is the j omega crossover. So that was equal to about 5 point something plus j, and this pole that is over here, it is moving along this real axis and then taking its path toward the infinity, some zero sitting over the infinity. So it will be moving like this, and this pole will be moving toward the infinity over this one. So this is the MATLAB based root locus sketch of this example. So that's all from this video. In the next video we will discuss another example of the root locus. Thank you very much.